You want to know what it takes? It takes giving up the person you are for the person you need to become. And that process isn't clean. It's messy. It's painful. It's looking in the mirror and being honest about all the ways you've been lying to yourself, all the ways you've been settling, all the ways you've been playing small because playing big is terrifying. Most people never make it because they're not willing to sacrifice their comfort. They want the results, but they don't want the process. They want the destination without the journey. They want to be great, but they're not willing to do what greatness demands. And what it demands is everything. Not most things. Not some things. Everything. You think successful people got there because they were lucky? Because things just worked out for them? No. They got there because they were willing to give up things that other people weren't willing to give up. They sacrificed sleep. They sacrificed leisure. They sacrificed immediate pleasure for long-term gain. They understood something that most people never understand, that you can't have it both ways. You can't live like everyone else and expect to end up somewhere different. Look at your life right now. Look at what you're holding on to. What are you protecting? What are you refusing to let go of? Because I promise you, whatever it is that's keeping you comfortable is the exact thing that's keeping you stuck. Your comfort zone isn't keeping you safe. It's keeping you small. It's keeping you from ever finding out what you're actually capable of. Sacrifice means letting go of the version of yourself that isn't serving you anymore. The version that makes excuses. The version that says tomorrow. The version that blames circumstances and other people for where you are. That version has to die, and you have to be the one to kill it. Nobody else can do that for you. This is what it takes. It takes getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. It takes learning to live in that space where everything feels wrong because you're doing something different. It takes pushing through the resistance that shows up every single day trying to pull you back to who you used to be. Your mind is going to fight you. It's designed to keep you safe, and safe means familiar. So when you start making different choices, when you start doing things that challenge the old patterns, your mind is going to sound every alarm it has. It's going to tell you this is too hard, that you're not ready, that you should wait, that you should prepare more, that you should take the easier path. And you have to learn to recognize those thoughts for what they are. They're not truth. They're just noise. They're the sound of your old self trying to survive. But you're not trying to survive anymore. You're trying to become something more, and that requires a different approach. That requires you to do things that scare you, to have conversations that make you uncomfortable, to take risks that might not work out, to put yourself in situations where failure is possible, because that's the only place where real growth happens. You want to talk about sacrifice? Let's talk about sacrificing your need to be right, your need to have it all figured out, your need for people to understand you, your need for approval, your need for everything to be perfect before you start. Those needs are anchors. They're keeping you tied to a version of yourself that's too small for what you're meant to do. The truth is that nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to hand you the life you want. Nobody is going to make it easy for you. This is on you, all of it. And that's not a burden, that's freedom. Because if it's on you, that means you have the power to change it. You're not waiting for permission. You're not waiting for the right time. You're not waiting for conditions to be perfect. You're just doing what needs to be done. And what needs to be done is hard. It's supposed to be hard. If it was easy, everyone would do it. If it didn't require sacrifice, everyone would have what you want, but they don't. Most people quit. Most people give up when it gets difficult. Most people choose comfort over growth every single time, and that's fine. That's their choice, but it doesn't have to be yours. You're at a crossroads right now. You might not see it, but you are. Every day you're making a choice between the life you have and the life you could have, between staying where you are and pushing into something bigger. And the gap between those two things is filled with sacrifice, with all the hard choices you're going to have to make, with all the temporary pain you're going to have to endure for permanent change. This is what separates people. Not talent, not opportunity, not luck, sacrifice. The willingness to give up what you want right now for what you want most. The discipline to keep going when you don't feel like it. The strength to choose the hard right over the easy wrong. You know what you need to do. You've always known. You just haven't been willing to do it because doing it means changing everything. It means restructuring your entire life. It means saying goodbye to habits that feel like friends. It means distancing yourself from people who don't understand your vision. It means spending time differently, spending money differently, thinking differently, being different. And different is lonely sometimes. When you're on a path that not many people take, you're going to walk alone for stretches. You're going to have moments where you question if it's worth it, where you wonder if you should just go back to how things were, where you miss the simplicity of not caring this much. But you can't go back. Once you've seen what's possible, once you've tasted what it feels like to push past your limits, there's no going back to sleep. You're awake now. And being awake means you have a responsibility to keep moving forward. Sacrifice isn't just about what you give up. It's about what you become in the process of giving it up. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you become stronger. Every time you choose long-term over short-term, you become wiser. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you become more capable. You're not losing anything. You're trading up. You're exchanging a smaller version of yourself for a bigger one. What nobody tells you, the sacrifice never stops. This isn't something you do once and then you're done. This is a lifestyle. This is a commitment you make to yourself every single day. Some days it's going to be harder than others. Some days you're going to want to quit. Some days you're going to look around and see other people taking the easy path and you're going to feel like a fool for taking the hard one. But those are the days that matter most. Those are the days that define you. Anyone can be disciplined when they feel motivated. Anyone can work hard when things are going well. The real test is what you do when everything is falling apart, when nothing is working, when you're tired and frustrated and ready to give up. That's when sacrifice really means something. That's when you find out what you're made of. You're going to fail. Let's just put that out there right now. You're going to mess up. You're going to have days where you fall back into old patterns, where you take the easy route, where you compromise on what you said you wouldn't compromise on. And when that happens, you don't give up. You don't use it as evidence that you're not cut out for this. You acknowledge it. You learn from it. And you get back on track. Because this isn't about being perfect. This is about being persistent. The difference between people who make it and people who don't isn't that successful people never fail. It's that they don't let failure stop them. They understand that failure is part of the process, that every setback is giving them information, that every mistake is teaching them something they needed to learn. They sacrifice their ego, their need to look good, their need to have a perfect track record. They're willing to be bad at something before they get good at it. They're willing to look foolish in pursuit of something meaningful. This is what it takes. It takes humility. It takes being honest about where you are while staying focused on where you're going. It takes accepting that you don't have all the answers while trusting that you'll figure it out as you go. It takes doing the work even when you don't see immediate results, even when it feels like nothing is changing, even when you're putting in effort and not getting anything back yet. Because here's the thing about sacrifice. The payoff isn't immediate. You don't give something up today and get your reward tomorrow. There's a gap, a space between the sacrifice and the success. And most people can't handle that gap. They need instant gratification. They need to see results right away or they lose interest. But that gap is where the magic happens. That gap is where you're being tested, where you're being refined, where you're becoming the person who's capable of handling what you're building toward. You can't skip the process. You can't hack your way around it. You can't take shortcuts. You have to go through it. Every painful part of it, every frustrating moment, every day where you feel like you're not making progress. Because all of that is making you into someone different. Someone stronger. Someone who doesn't quit when things get hard. Think about what you want. Really think about it. Not the surface level stuff. Go deeper. What do you actually want your life to look like? How do you want to feel when you wake up? What kind of person do you want to be? What kind of impact do you want to have? Get clear on that. Write it down. Make it real. Because that vision is going to be what pulls you forward when everything else is pushing you back. And then ask yourself what you're willing to sacrifice to get there. What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to do without? What are you willing to endure? Because whatever you want, there's a price. And you need to decide right now if you're willing to pay it. Most people aren't. Most people want the destination without the journey. They want the result without the work. They want the transformation without the discomfort. And so they stay stuck. They stay in the same place year after year wondering why nothing changes. And nothing changes because they're not willing to change. They're not willing to sacrifice what needs to be sacrificed. But you're different. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. Something in you knows there's more, knows you're capable of more, knows you're meant for more. And that knowing is both a gift and a burden. It's a gift because it gives you direction, it gives you purpose, but it's a burden because now you can't pretend you don't know. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't go back to living a small life when you know you're built for something bigger. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep talking about what you want to do someday? Or are you going to start doing it today? Are you going to keep waiting for the perfect moment? Or are you going to realize that the perfect moment is now? Are you going to keep making excuses? Or are you going to start making progress? This is your life. This is your one chance. You don't get a practice round. You don't get to come back and try again. This is it. And every day you wait is a day you're not getting back. Every day you choose comfort over growth is a day you're moving further away from what you're capable of. Sacrifice doesn't mean suffering for no reason. It means suffering for a purpose. It means choosing temporary discomfort for permanent change. It means understanding that the pain of discipline is always less than the pain of regret. It means knowing that the version of yourself you're protecting right now isn't the version that's going to get you where you want to go. You have to be willing to let that person go. The person who sleeps in. The person who takes the easy way. The person who quits when things get hard. The person who blames external circumstances. The person who says they'll start tomorrow. That person has to die so that the person you're meant to become can be born. And that death is a sacrifice. It's painful. It's uncomfortable. It's scary. Because even though that old version of you isn't serving you, it's familiar. You know how to be that person. You know what to expect. But the new version? That's unknown territory. That's stepping into a version of yourself that you've never been before. And that takes courage. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear and doing it anyway. It's acknowledging that you're terrified and taking the step forward regardless. It's admitting that you don't know how it's going to work out but deciding to find out anyway. That's what separates the people who make it from the people who don't. Not fearlessness, courage. You're going to have to sacrifice your need for certainty. Your need to know exactly how everything is going to unfold. Your need for a guarantee that it's going to work out. Because there are no guarantees. There's just you and your commitment to keep going no matter what. There's just you and your willingness to figure it out as you go. There's just you and your belief that you're capable of more than you've shown so far. And maybe that belief is shaky right now. Maybe you're not sure if you can actually do this. Maybe you've failed before and you're scared you'll fail again. That's normal. That's human. But you can't let that fear stop you. You can't let past failures dictate your future. You can't let doubt win. Because here's what doubt does. Doubt keeps you safe. Doubt keeps you small. Doubt keeps you from ever finding out what you're truly capable of. And living your whole life wondering what could have been is a special kind of torture. Don't do that to yourself. Don't get to the end of your life and realize you never really tried. Don't sacrifice your potential on the altar of fear. This is what it takes. It takes looking at your life honestly and admitting where you've been playing small, where you've been settling, where you've been making excuses. It takes taking full responsibility for where you are right now. Not blaming your parents, not blaming your circumstances, not blaming the economy or your boss or your past. Taking full ownership and saying, this is where I am and I'm the only one who can change it. That's power. Real power. Because when you stop blaming external factors, you take back control. When you stop waiting for things to change, you become the change. When you stop looking for someone to save you, you realize you're the hero of your own story. And heroes sacrifice. They give up the comfortable life for the meaningful one. They choose the hard path because they know that's where growth lives. They embrace the struggle because they understand that struggle is what makes them strong. They don't avoid pain. They run toward it because they know that on the other side of pain is a version of themselves that's more capable, more resilient, more powerful. You've been avoiding pain. You've been trying to find the easy way. You've been looking for the path of least resistance. And that's why you're stuck. That's why you're not where you want to be. Because growth doesn't happen in comfort. Change doesn't happen in safety. Transformation doesn't happen when you're playing it safe. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable, to be uncertain, to be scared, to not have it all figured out, to look stupid, to fail publicly, to try things that might not work, to invest time and energy into something with no guarantee of return. That's what it takes. And I know that's not what you want to hear. You want me to tell you there's an easier way, a faster way, a less painful way. But I'd be lying to you, and you don't need more lies. You don't need more people telling you what you want to hear. You need the truth, and the truth is that anything worth having requires sacrifice. Your health requires sacrifice. Sacrifice of foods that taste good but make you feel terrible. Sacrifice of late nights for early mornings. Sacrifice of immediate pleasure for long-term vitality. Your relationships require sacrifice. Sacrifice of ego. Sacrifice of being right. Sacrifice of your time and attention. Sacrifice of comfort for connection. Your career requires sacrifice. Sacrifice of free time, sacrifice of security for growth, sacrifice of the familiar for the unknown, sacrifice of who you are for who you need to become. Your dreams require sacrifice, sacrifice of everything that doesn't align with them, sacrifice of distractions, sacrifice of people who don't support them, sacrifice of comfort for progress. Everything requires something. The question is, what are you willing to give? What price are you willing to pay? What are you willing to endure? Because the cost is real. And if you're not willing to pay it, you need to adjust your expectations about where you're going to end up. But if you're willing to do what it takes, if you're willing to make the hard choices, if you're willing to sacrifice the good for the great, if you're willing to endure temporary pain for permanent change, then everything changes. Then you become unstoppable. Then you tap into a level of power and potential that most people never access because they're not willing to pay the price. You have that power inside you right now. It's not something you need to develop or acquire. It's already there. You've just been covering it up with comfort and convenience and compromise. You've been playing small because playing big is terrifying. But you know what's more terrifying? Getting to the end of your life and realizing you never really lived. realizing you spent your whole life in the shallow end because you were too scared to swim in the deep water. This is your invitation to the deep end. This is your call to something more. This is your chance to stop playing games with yourself and get serious about what you want. To stop making excuses and start making progress. To stop waiting and start doing. Sacrifice is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be, and you have to cross that bridge. You have to walk across it step by step, day by day, choice by choice. Nobody can carry you across. Nobody can do it for you. This is your bridge to cross, your journey to take, your transformation to complete. And it starts now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when conditions are perfect. Now. With the next choice you make, with the next action you take, with the next decision to choose growth over comfort. That's where it starts, in this moment, with you deciding that you're done settling, done playing small, done making excuses, done waiting. This is what it takes. It takes everything you have and then some. It takes pushing past limits you thought were permanent. It takes discovering strength you didn't know you had. It takes becoming someone you've never been. And that process is hard. It's supposed to be hard. Because easy doesn't change you. Comfortable doesn't transform you. Only sacrifice does that. So make the choice. Pay the price. Do what needs to be done. Not because it's easy, not because it feels good, but because it's necessary. Because you deserve more than a life half lived. Because you're capable of more than you're currently showing. Because somewhere deep inside you know this is what you're meant to do. Stop protecting the small version of yourself. Stop guarding your comfort. Stop holding back. Burn the boats. Cut off the retreat. Commit fully to becoming who you're meant to be. And then sacrifice everything that stands in the way of that becoming. This is what it takes. And you have what it takes. You've always had it. You just needed to decide to use it. So decide, right now, in this moment, decide that you're done with excuses, done with hesitation, done with fear running your life. Decide that from this point forward, you're all in, you're committed, you're willing to pay whatever price is necessary. Because that's what winners do. That's what people who achieve extraordinary things do. They sacrifice the ordinary. They give up the comfortable. They embrace the hard, and they keep going long after everyone else has quit. You're not everyone else. You're someone who wants more, who knows they're capable of more, who's ready to become more. And that starts with understanding what it takes. Understanding that sacrifice isn't optional, it's essential. It's the price of admission to the life you want. So pay it, make the sacrifice, do the hard thing, choose the difficult path. And trust that on the other side of all that sacrifice is a version of yourself that you can't even imagine right now. A version that's stronger, wiser, more capable, more powerful. A version that looks back at this moment and thanks you for making the choice to begin. Let me tell you something else about sacrifice. It's not just what you give up in the moment. It's what you commit to giving up every single day moving forward. It's the compounding effect of small choices that seem insignificant at the time but add up to something massive over weeks and months and years. It's saying no to the things that everyone else says yes to. It's doing the things that everyone else avoids. It's being different when being the same would be so much easier. You've heard people talk about discipline, about consistency, about showing up. But what they don't tell you is that all of those things are forms of sacrifice. Discipline is sacrificing what you want now for what you want most. Consistency is sacrificing variety and excitement for the boring repetition that actually creates results. Showing up is sacrificing comfort for commitment. And you know what the hardest part is? Nobody is going to applaud you for most of it. Nobody is going to see the early mornings or the late nights. Nobody is going to witness the internal battles you fight with yourself. Nobody is going to understand why you're saying no to things that seem harmless. They're going to think you're extreme. They're going to think you're taking it too seriously. They're going to tell you to relax, to have fun, to stop being so hard on yourself. And you're going to have to sacrifice your need for their understanding, your need for their approval, your need for them to get it, because they won't, not until they see the results. And even then, they'll attribute it to luck or talent or circumstances. They won't see the sacrifice. They won't see the price you paid. They'll just see the outcome and assume it came easy. But you'll know what it took. You'll know every moment you wanted to quit but didn't. Every time you chose the hard right over the easy wrong. Every sacrifice you made when nobody was watching. And that knowledge is going to be what carries you through the next level. Because there's always another level. There's always another mountain to climb. There's always another version of yourself to become. The sacrifice doesn't end when you reach a goal. It evolves. It changes form. Because now you have more to lose. Now you have something you've built that you have to protect and maintain. Now you have new standards you've set for yourself that you have to uphold. The sacrifice becomes about not slipping back, about not getting comfortable, about not letting success make you soft. That's where most people fail. They make it to a certain level and then they stop sacrificing. They think they've earned the right to coast, to take their foot off the gas, to enjoy what they've built. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying your progress. But the moment you stop being willing to sacrifice, you start moving backward. Because maintenance requires sacrifice too. Staying where you are requires just as much effort as getting there did. Think about the people you admire, the ones who've achieved things you want to achieve. Do you think they're taking it easy? Do you think they're coasting? No, they're still sacrificing, still pushing, still choosing growth over comfort. Because they understand that the game never ends, that the moment you think you've arrived is the moment you start declining. This is the truth that separates champions from everyone else. Champions understand that sacrifice is forever, that there's no finish line where you get to stop being disciplined, where you get to stop making hard choices, where you get to stop pushing yourself. The sacrifice is the lifestyle. It's not a phase you go through. It's who you become. And becoming that person requires you to sacrifice the stories you tell yourself, the excuses you've been using, the limitations you've accepted, the identity you've built that's based on being average. That identity has to go. You have to sacrifice the comfort of knowing who you are for the uncertainty of discovering who you could be. That's terrifying, because your identity is how you make sense of the world. It's how you understand yourself. It's the foundation everything else is built on. And you're being asked to shake that foundation, to question everything you thought you knew about yourself, to be willing to be wrong about your own limitations. Most people will never do that. They'll protect their current identity at all costs, even if that identity is killing them, even if that identity is keeping them stuck, even if that identity is based on stories that aren't even true. They'll hold on to it because letting go means facing the unknown. And the unknown is scary. But the unknown is also where possibility lives, where growth happens, where transformation occurs. You can't become someone new while clinging to who you used to be. You have to be willing to let go, to step into the void, to trust that you'll figure it out. That's sacrifice at the deepest level. Sacrificing the certainty of who you are for the possibility of who you could become. And let me be clear about something. This isn't about becoming someone you're not. This isn't about pretending or faking or trying to be something that doesn't align with your core values. This is about becoming the fullest expression of who you actually are, the version of you that isn't limited by fear or doubt or past failures, the version that isn't playing small to make other people comfortable, the version that's willing to take up space and own their power and go after what they want without apology. That version exists in you right now, but it's buried under layers of conditioning and compromise and fear. And sacrifice is what clears away those layers. Every hard choice you make, every comfort you give up, every time you push through when you want to quit, you're chipping away at everything that's covering up your true self. You're excavating the person you were always meant to be. This process doesn't happen overnight. It's not a switch you flip. It's a daily practice, a constant choosing, a never-ending commitment to your own evolution. And some days you're going to feel like you're not making progress, like all this sacrifice isn't worth it, like you should just go back to being comfortable. Those are the days that matter most. Because anyone can sacrifice when they see immediate results, when they feel motivated, when things are going well. But can you sacrifice when you don't see the point, when you're tired, when you're discouraged, when everyone around you is telling you to give up? That's when you find out what you're really made of. That's when you discover if you have what it takes. And here's what you need to understand. You do have what it takes, but having it and using it are two different things. You can have all the potential in the world and never access it because you're not willing to make the sacrifices necessary to unlock it. Potential means nothing without action. Dreams mean nothing without execution. Talent means nothing without discipline. So stop waiting for the day when sacrifice will be easy. It won't be. Stop waiting for the day when you'll feel ready. You won't. Stop waiting for the perfect circumstances. They don't exist. Start where you are, with what you have, and sacrifice whatever is standing between you and your next step forward. Maybe that's your pride. Maybe that's your comfort. Maybe that's your free time. Maybe that's your need to have it all figured out. Maybe that's your fear of what people will think. Whatever it is, you know what it is. You've known for a while. You've just been hoping there was a way around it. There isn't. The only way is through. And going through means sacrifice. It means giving up the thing you've been holding on to, the safety net you've been protecting, the excuse you've been using, the story you've been telling yourself about why you can't. All of that has to go. Not eventually, not someday, now. Because every day you wait is a day you're not becoming who you're meant to be. Every day you hold on to comfort is a day you're moving further from your potential. Every day you choose easy over hard is a day you're training yourself to settle. And settling is a slow death. It's comfortable. It's safe. But it's killing the part of you that knows you're capable of more. Don't let that part die. Don't let comfort kill your ambition. Don't let fear steal your future. Fight for it. Sacrifice for it. Do whatever it takes to keep that fire alive, because that fire is what's going to carry you through when nothing else can. That fire is your connection to your purpose, your reminder that you're meant for something more than just existing. Existing is easy. Anyone can exist. You don't have to sacrifice anything to just get by, to just make it through the day, to just survive. But you weren't put here to survive. You were put here to thrive, to create, to impact, to become. And becoming requires sacrifice. It requires you to give up the version of yourself that's content with mediocrity, the version that's okay with unfulfilled potential, the version that's fine with dreams that never become reality. That version is comfortable. That version is safe. But that version is also small. And you're not meant to stay small. You're meant to expand, to grow, to evolve, to become more today than you were yesterday, more tomorrow than you are today. And that constant expansion requires constant sacrifice of old habits, old patterns, old ways of thinking, old versions of yourself that are trying to keep you stuck. Let them go, all of them. Don't hold on to who you used to be out of loyalty or nostalgia or fear. That person served their purpose. They got you here, but they can't take you where you're going. You need to become someone new, someone stronger, someone more capable, someone who's willing to do what your old self never could. and that someone is already in you, waiting, ready, capable. All you have to do is make the choice to let them out, to stop hiding, to stop playing small, to stop sacrificing your future for your comfort, to start sacrificing your comfort for your future. That's the shift. That's the moment everything changes. When you decide that you're willing to be uncomfortable now so you can be extraordinary later. When you decide that temporary pain is worth permanent gain. When you decide that who you're becoming matters more than who you've been. Make that decision, right here, right now. Decide that you're done with excuses, done with settling, done with comfort. Decide that you're all in, that you're committed, that you're willing to sacrifice whatever needs to be sacrificed to become who you're meant to be. And then prove it, not with words, with action, with the choices you make, with the sacrifices you're willing to endure, with the consistency you bring, with the discipline you demonstrate, with the courage you show when everything in you wants to quit. That's how you prove it to yourself. That's how you build unshakable belief, not by talking about what you're going to do, but by doing it, by showing up, by sacrificing, by choosing hard over easy, by becoming the person you said you would become. This is what it takes. This is the price. This is the sacrifice, and it's worth it. Every hard moment, every uncomfortable choice, every sacrifice you make. It's all worth it when you become the person you were always meant to be. When you live the life you were always meant to live. When you fulfill the potential you were always meant to fulfill. So stop waiting, stop hesitating, stop looking for an easier way. This is the way, sacrifice is the way, and you're ready. You've always been ready, you just needed to decide. So decide, and then sacrifice everything that stands in the way of that decision becoming your reality. This is what it takes.